Hello. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been on a losing streak? I mean, a bad losing streak where just nothing goes right. You can't get a break. Well, I have, and it's frustrating. But I'm going to tell you a story about a professional football team that holds the record for the longest losing streak in pro sports history. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as you can see, the old logo, the new. To get you to understand how bad they were, I have to take you to the beginning. I mean, the very beginning. To the point where there were several teams in the NFL, 26 to be exact, and there was a story that the NFL was going to expand in the early 70s. And in 1973, one of the events that happened in Tampa, unrelated to football, got the attention of the NFL. According to an article by Paul Iorio in the Huffington Post, Led Zeppelin, the legendary band, came to Tampa in 73, May of 73, and put on a concert that set a world record for 56,800 fans. This did catch the attention of the NFL. And in 74, they awarded Tampa the 27th franchise in the NFL. The next thing they had to do was come up with an owner. And they found one. The name is Hugh Culverhouse. And he was willing to purchase the team for $16 million. Now, Hugh Culverhouse was born in Alabama, Birmingham, during the Depression. He was a tax attorney that was very successful in Jacksonville, Florida. But he was notoriously cheap. According to John Vuick in the book, The Yucks, on one occasion, Culverhouse, the owner, had one of the players was injured, and the trainers had to cut the jersey off the player that was injured. On that player's check the next week, the cost of that jersey was deducted as per the owner's command. Very cheap. So a lot of players didn't want to be here, but there wasn't a lot of free agency back then, so it wasn't like they could get out of playing here. So we just accumulated losses. The Buccaneers then hired a head coach, John McKay. He was a former USC coach, very successful, won several national titles. He came to Florida to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and became a professional coach. He was kind of stern and intimidated the players to the point where, according to John Vuick in the book, The Yucks, he stated that the kicker was having a hard time, and the coach asked him what was wrong, and he told the coach he was nervous. He said, well, why are you nervous? He said, because you're watching me. And the coach said, well, that's too bad, because I plan on being at every game. This is the kind of sense of humor McKay had. So now that we got the owner and the coach, we got to pick colors. They decided to pick orange because as the main color to represent the state's citrus industry. Then it was a mascot, and they had all kind of contests with all kind of names coming in for all kind of different mascots. But they settled on the Buccaneer in a nod to the history of the pirates in Tampa with Jose Gaspar, the fictitious pirate that invaded Hispania Island and raided and pillaged. But he's also the main name for the Gasparilla Parade that's held annually in February in Tampa. So now the team has the colors, the mascot, the coach, and they're ready to play. First game out the gate, they played the Houston Oilers in September of '76, and they lost that game 23-0. Back then, the NFL schedule was 14 games. They proceeded to lose all 14 games the first year. The second year starts '77, and they lose their first game, and right off the bat, they became a national charade, a national laughingstock, the city of Tampa as well. They would be on the Tonight Show hosted by Johnny Carson, and just so you know, now we have hundreds upon hundreds of channels. When I was growing up, there were 3, ABC, CBS, NBC. NBC had a Tonight Show hosted by Johnny Carson. He was a predecessor to guys like Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and so forth, but he was the main guy. He's the king. Anyway, he would ridicule the Bucs week after week after each loss. So one day the Bucs traveled and they were 0-12 in their second year, put it 0-26. So this losing streak was 26 straight games. Crazy. So they traveled to New Orleans for their 13th, second to last game of the season. And their quarterback was named Archie Manning. He is the father of, you may know, Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, which are just recently retired players from the league now. He stated that if you lost to the Bucs, it'd be a disgrace and someone should be fired. Well, they lost to the Bucs. Their head coach was fired. The team comes back to Tampa, and I was one of the 7,000 estimated fans that went to One Buck Place and just celebrated with the team. It was pretty amazing. The next week, we played the final game of the 77 season against the St. Louis Cardinals, and we beat them. Their coach was also fired. The following year, we go to 5-11. We improved, still not much of a contender, but we're getting better. The next year, from 1979, we completed the run from worst to first by winning the Central Division and finishing 10-6. We got to the NFC Championship game and lost narrowly to the Los Angeles Rams 9-0, and they went on to play the Steelers in the Super Bowl, and they lost. So this was the end of our run at the first 3 seasons. We were champs, the NFC Central champs. We ended up kind of fading again in the 80s and 90s. Late in the 90s, mid-90s, the Culver House estate sold the team to the Glazier family. And the Glazers purchased the team for $192 million. Now, the Culver House has purchased it in 76 for 16, $192. Just so you know, the team currently, in this year of 2020, are worth an estimated $800 to $900 million. I just want to say that the reason I gave you this talk about the long losing streak and trying to inform you about the Bucs, I'm trying to maybe win over a couple new fans. Maybe some of you folks that aren't from here or just haven't really followed football can start to like the Bucs, start to root for the Bucs. And the good news is Tampa right now is in the news nationally, and it's not just for Big Cat Rescue. It is because the Tampa Bay Bucks have acquired the greatest quarterback, possible NFL player of all time, Tom Brady. His Hall of Fame tight end has come and joined the team. And the NFL analysts are predicting that the Buccaneers, quite frankly, could be the NFC champion, and they would be the first team in NFL history to host a Super Bowl, because Super Bowl 55, this year's Super Bowl, which will be played February of 2021, should say next year, will be hosted in Tampa, Florida. So, looking forward to that. In closing, I like to say, fire the cannons, go Bucks.